Hello my dears and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a trip to the 1970s with McCall's 3929 and we will be making a nursing uniform dress in honor of my Aunt Beth, who is a nurse. All right, my dears. Now, before we get into the stitching portion of our video, I thought I would give you all a little bit of insight into the make this week and what has inspired me to move forward with it. Not only is it because I found this amazing McCall's pattern with a nursing uniform on it, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an insight into a person that I think is pretty spectacular, and that is my Aunt Beth. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into a little bit of a montage scene before we get to stitching. My Aunt Beth is a diploma certified nurse who went back to school throughout her career to obtain her bachelor's and master's degrees in nursing. She retired from nursing after a long and successful career in hospital nursing a few years ago now, but she couldn't manage to fully walk away from her passion and career. Since retirement, she has written and published multiple books, including 2 award-winning books, written from the nursing perspective. Most recently, she has published 2 fictional novellas about a new nurse, Kit Wilson, and her adventures, lessons, and struggles as a new nurse, and as a nurse working through the challenges our healthcare professionals experienced as a result of the COVID pandemic. While these are fictional books, they come from a source of knowing the ins and outs of nursing. These are wonderful reads for new grad nurses, families of nurses, or anyone wanting a great story with some honest perspective and knowledge of the main character's profession and associated struggles. And so, as a tribute to my aunt and her most recent publications, I thought we could make a vintage-inspired scrub dress for her main character, Kit Wilson. For our pattern today, we are going to be going with the dress version here. Now, this shows the nursing uniform with pants, but when I went and did a little bit of research, it looks like pants weren't really very common in the 70s. Still, they were becoming more common, but they weren't the most common. So I am going to go ahead and give Kit Wilson, the character from my aunt's books, the Kit Wilson series, a dress for her retro makeover. The second dress here, this pink dress, it has really big pockets, like great big nursing pockets, I would think, where you would put all of your goodies, your pens and all the things you would need to give your patients. But I did notice that on the cover of the book, she is wearing short sleeves. So we're going to go with dress A, here the dress with short sleeves, but we're going to add the pockets from dress B. And we are going to go ahead and make it in this blue fabric to match the blue of the scrubs that her character is wearing on the cover of her book. With that being said, we've got our directions out and on the table, and this is McCall's pattern from 1974, and these instructions are really great. I mean, it's huge, unfolded. I think this is maybe the 3rd or 4th 1970s pattern that we've opened up on the channel, and I've noticed that the instructions from this time period were quite a bit thicker. A really nice thick paper, which is kind of great, though it does make me a little bit nervous for some reason. I feel like even though it's thicker, it might rip a little bit easier. So being a little bit careful with it, but going ahead and starting out, we're doing the dress. So it's going to be the dress or the tunic front, and we're going to start with the bodice top of this. This is going to be a dress that we're going to cut, I think, just below the knee or just at the knee, because we're going to do that retro modern feel, giving it a retro dress. But let's go ahead and get to stitching this dress up so that we can get Kit into her retro makeover. The first thing we need to do is get darts into the bodice. So I'm going to start getting those marked with my handy dandy chalk pen. Then we'll get those pinned and sewn into place. And after we've done that, we'll move on to step 2. which looks like it might be getting straight into putting the skirt on. We may be putting the sleeves on last. So let's find out how we're going to be getting along. All right, in reading through the instructions on this dress, it's very interesting. I'm not sure it's the way I would put things together. It kind of has you building different parts at different times. There are all these little fiddly bits with it. You know, you have the pockets here, you have the facing, the interfacing, the collar, and they kind of want you to build everything out and honestly build every single part of it out before you even think about the sleeves, etc. They want you to completely build the back of the dress, put the zipper in, the whole 9 yards before attaching it to the front and then getting the collar on. And it doesn't not make sense, but it also, it doesn't entirely make sense. And sometimes I really like following the directions to a T, and sometimes I just like making things however they work in my brain. And today I feel like is one of those days where I'm having a little bit of a hard time focusing on follow this exactly, then follow this exactly, then follow this exactly. And so I think we might have a small departure in our video today of just sewing, just getting into it, doing the little fiddly bits the way they make sense in my brain, and getting the top put together and the dress put together, and kind of taking you guys along as I go. So I am going to go ahead and get I've got the bodice darts and everything put together. I've got those set aside. I'm going to get the pockets ready, which means I need to fold the top hemline over, get things pressed and ready to go so that they can be top stitched onto the front of the front skirt. And then I think we'll probably get the collar completely stitched and flipped so that it is ready when we want to be able to utilize it, get that really pressed nice and firm. And then after we do those fiddly bits, then we'll go back to getting all the parts put together in the bodice. Okay, we officially have all of our fiddly bits done. So I have stitched the collar. I did go ahead and stitch the 2 pieces, clipped, pressed, and flipped, and then I did go ahead and top stitch along the collar. When looking at the instructions pretty closely, it does look like the collar here is top stitched, and I think it's going to work well for this because it's going to keep it into a nice shape even after washing. So I've got that completed. I have our interfacing that will be pulling everything over, cleaning up the inside lines, hiding the raw edge of the collar on the inside of the top of the bodice put together here. And I have our front pockets. I did go ahead and fold over those seams. I top stitched them, and then I've just pressed in an edge all along the border of the pocket so that when we top stitch it on top of the skirt, we'll have a nice clean edge. All of the raw edges will be gently tucked in and hidden away. It'll prevent any fraying, and of course it'll give it that really nice finished look. So I think it's officially time to start following the instructions again and start getting the pieces put together. With that being said, it looks like they do want us to go ahead and close up the front of the bodice just a bit, just kind of coming up part of the way on the bottom of the bodice so that we have a nice smooth line to attach to the top of our skirt here. We've got our bodice attached to the front skirt, and I've got the pockets temporarily placed, as that is the next step for us, is to line up the pockets on the front and get them totally stitched on. I did go ahead and put this dress onto my mannequin to see kind of how the pockets would fall to make sure that they would look nice. And I think I've got them at a good spot. I'm just going to measure to make sure I've got everything really nice and even. Our front panel is completely put together with the pockets in place here. So the next step in our instructions is to go ahead and assemble the back. So we're going to go ahead and stitch up the back of the bodice, and then we will stitch up the back of the skirt. Once those two are both stitched closed, we will attach the back bodice to the back skirt, and they will be one complete piece before we attach to the front. So it'll be the same construction as the front of the dress, where we made the entire thing top to bottom, and then we will be connecting them, versus some of the other dresses that we have made in the past where we've completely assembled the top bodice and then completely assembled the skirt and then put the bodice onto the skirt. This one we're assembling the whole front, then we're going to assemble the whole back, and then we're going to smash the two together. Once we do that, we'll do the collar, and then the sleeves they have us putting on last. So let's go. It is officially time to get the front and the backs of our nursing dress put together and see if I can squeeze it over my head or if I have to put a zipper in the back of this. I'm really hoping that I don't have to, but if I do, we'll be doing a little bit of seam ripping. Not a big deal. We'll get it done if we need to, but hopefully we won't have to, because it would be awfully nice to have just like a really nice dress to run around in that doesn't require a zipper. So I have my right sides together, and I am going to start, it wants me to start with the shoulders, so I'm going to start with the shoulders up here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do those long side seams. All right, my dears, I just went ahead and pinned all along the sides. I don't know if you can see, and gave myself kind of a seam allowance with pins, and I did a quick test fit to see if I could get it on over my head, get it totally pulled down without a zipper in the back, and I can. So I'm gonna skip the zipper in this dress, and I think that's really great. I actually think that's pretty smart for a nurse uniform dress, because I don't think our modern day nurses have time for zippers. So I am really excited about that. I think I am going to get this put together tomorrow though, because it is after bedtime at our house and it's starting to get pretty late, and I don't want to be a zombie for my littles tomorrow. So we will pick this back up tomorrow, perhaps during nap time, see if we can't get these seams in place and get the top collar figured out. The collar won't connect in the back because it is technically meant to go up against a zipper. So I'm not sure if that's going to look funny if the whole collar isn't connected in the back, since I'm not going to be adding a zipper, which might change how I feel about things. It may mean that we need to recut out a new collar if we want to keep the collar, or it may mean that we simply forego it altogether and just do that really classic peasant top finish that many of the shirts from the 1970s would have had. We will see how we feel after a night of sleep, after we've had time to walk away, to think about how we feel, and then come on back. So I will see you guys back here tomorrow during nap time. All right, my dears, we are back. It is after bedtime. Nap time did not happen today. And sometimes that just happens, right? So we do still have a little bit to finish up on our dedication dress, our nursing work dress. I did think about things a little bit concerning the collar, and I'm still really torn. Basically, today I went through the whole gamut. I was like, I'm going to recut out the collar. I'm going to recut it out, and I'm going to make it a full collar, and everything is going to be great because that is how the pattern is meant to be. And then I decided, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to put the collar on. I'm going to have to cut something else back out. I'm going to have to completely rework it. I'm going to have to use a bunch of fabric and throw fabric away. And I decided I'm not doing the collar. And then I thought, well, what if I could do the collar and it wouldn't matter that it was kind of split in the back, and I could just use what it has, and it would be totally fine. It could work. It could be great. And then I changed my mind again and decided like maybe I wouldn't even do the neckline that it has. I'll just tuck it in because I was looking at footage from yesterday and I kind of had the top pushed in and I was like, that looks kind of nice. Maybe I'll just do that and I won't even worry about either doing the peasant top or the collar. It'll be a V-neck. It'll be really nice. So what we are going to do is get the dress put together and get the collar in last, which may turn out to be a complete pain in the bottom. However, since I am completely uncertain as to what I want to do, that's what we are going to do, is just wait, put it off, delay. To that end, I did think of something else. I can get this dress on without having a zipper in the back because it is just a little bit loose. And I was thinking it would be kind of nice if it was optional to kind of just nip in right here at the bust line where this bodice does end, where it kind of comes under after getting it on. And so I did make these little tabs that I thought would be kind of cute if they were tucked into the side, and then you could like wrap them around to tighten things if you wanted. Like the first button could be not tightened, and then we could do like a second button that is like a little bit tighter. So I think we're gonna add those in because we don't have the sides of the dress closed up yet. We can go ahead and still sneak these in and have them tucked into that side seam so that the raw edges are completely hidden away. I think that is what we are going to tackle next, is getting these side seams closed up and getting the sleeves put into place. Then we can do a final test fit, decide exactly where I'd like the hem to be and get that hemmed, and then finally come to a decision about the collar. Collar, no collar, collar, no collar, and I just don't know. Let's get the sides closed up to start. Okay. So for the sleeve pattern here, this is a standard bell-shaped sleeve. We've got the top of the cap right up here. We'll do a small gathered stitch along the top. That way we can ease the top of the shoulder into place on the dress. There is a pretty deep hemline for this particular sleeve, which means these sleeves are actually really quite short. They're shorter than it feels like they appear in the picture. So we'll see kind of how they feel when they're on. I don't know that I will lengthen them. We're just going to go with the pattern on this one. It's already cut out. I do think it will be a nice look to have kind of almost a little cap sleeve with the dress. And who knows, maybe it will be a little bit longer than I'm picturing it. All right, my dears, let's talk wrap up on our vintage 1970s nursing dress uniform. Again, this was McCall's 3929, and I think it turned out pretty well. We did go ahead and eliminate the zipper from the back, which I actually think is really great in a work dress. Not having to have extra zippers or buttons is really a nice feature, being able to just tug it over your head. Now that being said, because this did end up a little bit larger here, I did add these little straps and buttons, and so I can actually tuck it in and make it a little bit tighter if I need to or want to, and I think that's kind of a nice middle ground versus having it really truly fitting and needing to have the zipper, to have things a little bit loose so that you can have an action back so you can get work done, but yet still being able to tuck it in if you would like to is a really nice feature. I did go ahead and eliminate the larger collar on this because it was made to fit up snug against the zipper. And when I attempted to put that same collar in on this neckline with the back closed up, it didn't look right. So instead I opted for a faux collar where I just utilized the material that was already there and go ahead and let it flare open. I did tack it in place so that it's not going anywhere and it has a nice clean look to it. And I think if I were to make this dress again, I would consider doing the same thing because I do think it's a nice look overall. The material I used for this was a polyester poplin, and I will say this, it is not the best for fraying. It really was fraying quite a bit. I did use pinking shears and I did do some overcasting with the serger, but overall I think if I were to make this dress again, I would do it out of a cotton poplin or another type of material. Even like a nice jersey knit might be really nice in the long sleeve version here because it would be very free movements, and again you could go ahead and eliminate the zipper. Overall, I'm happy with the dress. I think it's very cute. I think it would make a very, very cute nurse's work dress, and I hope that our character Kit Wilson and my Aunt Beth like how it turned out and liked the vintage makeover that we gave our character Kit. Did I dive into my children's toys and steal them for some of the reveal pictures? Yes. Overall, I do want to go ahead and send a shout out to my Aunt Beth and say great job on these two books, Kit Wilson, First Year RN, and Kit Wilson, Treading Water. I also want to say thank you to all of the nurses out there, including Aunt Terry, another one of our family members. All of the work that you guys do is wonderful, and we really, really appreciate you guys. So to all of those out there who may have family members or friends who are nurses, if you want a little bit of insight into their jobs, into their careers and their daily lives, into what it was like when they were new RNs, go ahead and head on over to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and pick up Kit Wilson, First Year RN. You won't regret it. Thank you guys so much. Bye.